Good evening. I'd like to open up the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The time is 5:42. My name is Ron Tickey, 2nd District Council. No. First on the public hearing sign-up sheet is Elizabeth Selleck.
Good evening. My name is Liz Sulik, and I am the Executive Director of the Stratford Housing Authority. We're located at 295 Everett Street in Stratford. Paul Hoydick is here as well, and he's our maintenance director. Paul? Our funding requests and written comments have been submitted, and I'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak tonight. As you know, the Stratford Housing Authority submitted 2 applications for review this year. The first was our annual request for funding to help turn around vacant units. This funding allows us to make ready and turn over the units faster. By doing so, it allows the elderly and families with children to occupy our apartments more quickly. With constant federal budget cuts and no subsidy from the state, the authority must continue to make ready and lease units using current staffing levels. Last year, the authority's vacancy rate was 12%, which translates to 58 vacant units for the year, which is just over 1 vacant unit per week. Our second application this year will greatly benefit our elderly disabled residents from Shiloh Gardens, located at 175 Henry Avenue in Stratford. Shiloh Gardens was built in 1962 and receives no subsidy from the state of Connecticut. Rather, it must sustain itself on the rents it receives from its low-income tenants. Because rents are very low and affordable, they typically meet our annual expenses without leaving much, if anything, to put aside for reserves. This property is long overdue for some much-needed capital improvements, and in conjunction with this application, the authority is also applying for a state grant through the Department of Housing and the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. Because this is rumored to be the last round of funding committed by Governor Malloy, it is also said to be the most competitive. This application round is estimated to have between 35 to 40 housing authorities vying for $20 million, with the capability to fund approximately only 10 to 12 applications. We were told that leveraging funds will greatly enhance our application, and that is why we are asking for your consideration tonight. If awarded, the $100,000 through CDBG, we hope to elevate our chances in receiving the grant for capital need improvements for this development. We hope to address most of our capital needs if we receive the requested funding. And this will be everything from site work improvements, from walks, parking areas, trees, fire and smoke alarms, call for aids, community room ADA upgrades, emergency generator, security system cameras, roofing, drainage, vinyl siding, windows, and door replacements, to everything to mechanical improvements, which includes boilers and thermostats. Please know that we are cognizant of significant cuts to all programs, and we know that your board is faced with difficult choices when making this award. We ask and appreciate your support of these requests and would like to thank the CDBG board, Chris Mandecki, the CDBG staff, and the town for its past and continued efforts on our behalf. Thank you again for your consideration. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Not at this time. I heard the presentation through Paul.
Yes.
Thank you for making the application.
Thank you for allowing us to do so. We greatly appreciate it, and it's very much needed this year. Yeah. Unfortunately, our capital grant work is far and few between, simply because we don't have the reserves to fund the improvements based on the income that we earn from that project, based on our tenant population. We service the low and disabled and seniors over there, so really everything's coming due and past due. So we greatly need to make those improvements in our accounting on this and the CHA fund monies for making a huge impact over there. So we do thank you for your consideration.
Mr. O'Brien?
not much of a public here, but let me publicly congratulate you on your appointment as the new executive director.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious, are these units included in our affordable housing numbers?
Yes, they are. Yeah,
Good.
they are, but we receive no subsidy for them because they're considered part of our state portfolio. And with the state portfolio, we can charge a base rent over there, so the rents are a little bit more elevated in terms of our federal developments, only because our federal developments, we receive a subsidy. At our state properties, we do not. But even with our base rents, they're very low. They're currently $285 for 0 bedroom and $310 for the one, so they're low. So, but as you all know, our expenses don't go down, you know? So, yeah,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you. Oops.
Mark Corvino?
My name is Mark Corvino. I've lived at 216 Swanson Avenue for 45 years of my 65 years living in Stratford. I'm the Vice President of Connecticut Air and Space Center. I'm here tonight along with the President, Gene Madera, to represent CASC and to appeal to the town of Stratford for assistance in the removal of slum and blight conditions on South Main Street in our town. Gene and I have been working on this dream to transform the dilapidated, historic, very historic Curtis Hangar back to its former glory and make a museum to display some of the iconic aircraft that were built right here in Stratford, Connecticut. We are now entering our 7th year on this project. And over these 7 years, I'm always fascinated by how many local and state residents have absolutely no idea of the contributions our little town has made to the world of aviation. We could speak all night telling you all about them, but we won't. I can't tell you in a minute what happened in Stratford. The first successful design, flight, and construction of a helicopter, period. Same first design, flight, construction of a gas turbine jet engine, a gas turbine shaft engine, a gas turbine tank engine, of four-engine flying boats. It's the first plane to have 4 engines, practical. And the big one was the first and fastest 400-mile-an-hour World War II fighter plane and fastest of its time that contributed to winning the war in the Pacific in World War II. Greatly contributed. All that happened right here in your town of Stratford. No one, I struggle with that because no one knows it. I'm sorry, I'm not, no one. Very few people know it or acknowledge it or even heard of it. So I can state that to my knowledge, nowhere in our state, country, or probably the world have so many achievements come from such a tiny, was then tiny town of Stratford, Connecticut. The Curtis Hangar will be a testament to our town, its people, and its history in the world of aviation. Tonight, we are asking the town to join us and our fantastic, generous donors that have already made substantial contributions to the Curtis Hangar. I submitted a list there of, I forgot to say of their contributions. In-kind services, company DC Rentals rented us a scissor lift at no charge, $2,000 for engineering. D&M Manson Electric, $3,800 for exploratory electric and electric service installation, $3,800. Gosling excavation, concrete cutting and excavation, $2,500. Camco supply, drywall materials, no charge, delivered at no charge for $2,200. Peps painting is a $1,000 labor discount for the hangar, and very generous Rick Sikelski, Plumbing and Heating, is doing a $7,000 job for the $2,500 in labor, in material, and he's donating $4,500 in his labor. So that, just from little guys, all small businessmen, and only one of them is from Stratford. That totals $26,000. Lockheed Sikorsky Aircraft, they paid for the rigging and transportation of our restored aircraft to Main Street Stratford plant to display. That was an in-kind service of approximately $25,000. United Aero Group, which is in Stratford, donated a Sikorsky S-76 helicopter built in Stratford for the display at the Curtis hangar. That's probably about $60,000 to $80,000. We've applied and pretty much been accepted for the UI Energy Blueprint Program, which is a lighting efficiency upgrade for nonprofits, and that could be in tens of thousands of dollars. I'm listing all these because I guess at the committee meeting, the question is asked, who has donated? You know, these are the little guys. The actual financial donations are the City of Bridgeport, which gave us a check for $50,000 for the Curtis Hangar Fund. That was in addition to signing a 98-year lease for $1 a year for the Curtis Hangar, the surrounding property, and the active ramp in front of it. That's in the millions. 15,000 feet of finished space on a ramp is a lot of money. They also, in their lease, are paying the gas and electric bill at the hangar. The town of Stratford has given us, through CDBG, a $60,000 grant for the design and engineering of the slum and blight removal at the Curtis hangar. That has been completed, and there is a copy of everything at the building inspector's office: engineering, building permits, architectural plans. We already have 3 building permits there. The town of Stratford also awarded us a $10,000 grant to actually start the slum blight removal. We're $10,000, but we haven't even drawn on that or completed that. Two Roads Brewery has held special events for fundraising for us over the years, showcasing our products and artifacts. That's about $3,200. And Brad Hiddle, the CEO of Two Roads, personally has given us $7,000 for the hangar. So point of all that is, you know, it was brought up that, you know, the town obviously can't afford to do everything. You know, the money just isn't around. But, you know, we're doing our part to raise money, and other people are doing their part to give us money. And with all of this enthusiasm, you know, a lot of people can appreciate what we're doing there. So we're appealing to the town to support CASC in our efforts to give the Curtis Hangar a place on the map and a reason for people to visit our town. I feel as time has come for the town to support a hard, tangible asset that you can see, touch, feel, that future generations can also enjoy and learn about what our people did for this country. And I'm sorry there isn't more people here because I know some people had questions, and I would love to answer them. Also, we have already earmarked about $400,000 from the DECD, the grants that are already in place. They can't be used until we start construction. You know, it's on an invoice basis. And we've applied for a state historic preservation trust grant of up to $50,000, which has passed a lot of qualifications, and it just has to go to, it's going to go to a meeting, a monthly meeting. Hopefully get in next month. But they've been here to the site 3 times asking for us to make it look like it did in 1929, and that's exactly the point of what we're trying to do. So I would love to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Can?
The message makes perfect sense, and especially in terms of a destination for the town of Stratford, for everyone involved in our industries of aeronautics and machine engineering. The STEM education aspect of it, for example, an auxiliary school for people to learn more for the students to learn more aerospace is also perfect. Just this program, this is my first year sitting as a member of the CDBG, although I've observed it a couple of years prior. There is a big focus on direct services like supportive housing services or just housing in general. And I think we all need to find ways to help the Curtis Aerospace hangar team move forward with, it'll probably take millions of dollars
Well,
to complete the project, but we need these kernels, these seeds to move it forward. And this 10,000 last year and 10,000 this year is probably a drop in the bucket for what you need to complete the blight removal and then start the construction. I want to thank you for your ongoing efforts, Mr. Corvino.
thank you.
Mr. O'Brien, anything?
Mark, how much more is needed to begin construction?
Well, it went out to bid, and to enclose the building with a roof, windows, brick, doors, it was about $1.3 million. Just, you know, no heat, no lighting, just to close it, and we could start using it as a hangar. Because money was slow coming in, we had a prospective person, and it's been slow. We've gone back to the contractor and taken items out So we're around 770 now, 770,000. That we can get it, you know, really appearing right to eliminate the blight and slum and blight, and, you know, be attractive, which would generate interest and people would get involved. And this summer we're opening, there's a little building in the front of it. It was built in the 70s. It's a lot easier to fix, obviously. We're fixing that with our own money, and that will be open. We're gonna get a separate certificate of occupancy for that thing it's 3,000 feet. To assemble aircraft, you could see an active restoration going on, see our artifacts concerning the town and the hangar, and hopefully do some fundraising there and do some events. We're definitely going to have a few events there this year that will be very visible. Last year we brought a B-17 bomber, World War II bomber, in right on Main Street. Right, you couldn't go around that corner and you saw this big silver bird, and it was tremendous. The participation, the weather killed us, but people still stood there in the rain. They just couldn't fly it. They were supposed to fly in it. So
The biggest problem with the current site is that if you're under 18, you're not allowed in the Army engine plant.
right,
So a lot of people, young people don't get to see it.
right. It's
And-
hard to have a museum when
Yeah.
you have to be 18 or older.
And as you said at the recent Rotary meeting, it's all about Stratford pride. It's
Right.
one more thing.
Right. And
We
people
got to
do-
keep pushing the Stratford pride.
People have no idea. They think Stratford's just like a blurb next to Bridgeport or something. I don't know. I don't know
Bridgeport's a
how it-
blurb next to us.
Right. That's the way I feel. And I don't know how it came to that, but it did.
All right, I just want to thank you for doing your part in trying to preserve our history of Stratford. It is very important. With that, no more questions? All right, thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
Thank you for your consideration.
Next, Tammy Trozanowski.
Oh dear. Hello. I guess I'm in the mic, yeah? Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Tammy Trojanowski. I live at 15 Elizabeth Street here in Stratford, and I'm also the administrator for Community Services, which is located at 468 Birdseye Street. The South End Community Center is part of Community Services, and that's located at 19 Bates Street. So I'd like to, first of all, thank the Community Development Subcommittee for recommending funding for community services and the South End, and we hope that you'll be able to support that recommendation. We have received this funding for the past couple of years, and we are very grateful for it. It really helps us to meet multiple community needs, everything from summer and after-school childcare to a community food pantry to Head Start, counseling, and a juvenile review board. Specifically at Community Services, just to put a few numbers on what we do, last year we saw over 1,000, or we provided over 1,000 counseling sessions, about 300 Connecticut energy assistance applications. Over 50 young people were referred to our juvenile review board, which kept them out of the juvenile justice system. And we reached about 5,000 residents at different events where we're handing out materials on things from substance abuse to parenting to, where to get help for different things. At the South End during the day, there's about 17 children that come in during the school week for after-school care. And then by day, there's over 50 children that are in the Head Start program. About 100 children receive holiday gifts each year. Somewhere between 45,000 meals are given out through the food pantry. And the IRS VITA program, which is just finishing up now for this current tax year, about 300 returns were done last year. So those are the numbers, but you know as well as I do, that's really just a part of the picture. What we're really talking about is families, neighbors, and our friends who are really better off because we have these kinds of services in place. We really try to be the shelter in the storm of life offering support, resources, and hope. Because honestly, you know, life, it just happens. Jobs become eliminated. Children can slip academically over the summer if they don't have the right supports. And perfectly adjusted children with loving parents have to cope with trauma and loss. We know that our families are working hard and many are struggling to make ends meet. They often have to make some difficult choices and are just a step away from a perfect storm of financial instability. So those are the day-to-day needs that we try to meet, and the CDBG funding is critical to helping us do that work. And what I like to say when I talk to people outside of Stratford, and I think you're going to like this, is that I say we not only build great helicopters, but we build great kids in Stratford. So I don't know if you have any questions about community services and how we use the money.
Mr. Kent?
Tammy, thank you for serving. Thank you for building a great team. I'm familiar with the programs and the counseling, the home that the South End Community Center provides for that neighborhood. Thank you just for building that team and
Great.
always representing.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien?
Thanks, Tammy, for how many years of service now?
Well, 31, 32 in August, but I started right after Girl Scouts, so
Yeah, I was going to say, you started when you were 15, right?
I was just getting out of the Scouts when I started.
But how do you find the juvenile review board going? Numbers going up, steady, or?
Well, the numbers are going up. Oops. And it's not necessarily that our young people are committing more acts of delinquency or getting involved in more trouble. It's really that the whole system is changing, that the court is no longer accepting the kids for situations that they want to keep in the community. You know, the evidence is clear that we had been sending way too many kids to court as a first response. So we need to keep kids in our community first and try to do the interventions here first before they go into a system.
And the review board is primarily volunteers.
Yeah, the panel, the people that serve on the panel are all volunteers. Yeah, and the young people have to agree, and their families have to agree. They can always have their day in court if they choose not to come to us.
Thanks.
Yes, Tammy, I'd like to thank you for your department and services that the Tickies have used the services with our children, and with great results, I might add. With that, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So seeing there's no one else for the public hearing signed up, do I have to have a motion? Okay, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:10 p.m.